Hi, it's Jo and Steve, and we're here for another Take 5, Steve. And we're going to kick off with this week's global dairy trade results, which were the 5th positive result in a row.
Yeah, gosh, what's happening? But it was a bit mixed. So some backdrop that we should talk about. The afternoon before the event, we saw the release of New Zealand production data for the month of October, which was down a little more than was expected, I guess.
Yeah, we'll go through that.
Yeah, we'll come on to that. That was out there beforehand. We had some strong European trade. We had some US milk information as well that came out just beforehand. So there's a bit of a rush of data that came before this event. So look, good for powders. Probably some of that European situation may have influenced the powder story coming out of this, but there was also some different buying trends we saw. We saw China step back a bit in skim milk powder, which was pretty interesting. So demand's still there. How long this run continues is what everyone's now talking about. Obviously, we've been talking about, I think, for 3 events.
Yeah.
But fat's pretty weak again, and that's, like we've been calling, there was disparity between European and New Zealand prices, and still we still think demand is soft at above 4,000. So
for butter, yeah.
We're going to test that fairly soon.
Yeah, so some interesting trends in individual products that we can look at.
Yes, we can. If I push the next slide, that's always helpful. So the Americans, the guys in Fresno, will be fist pumping at this point with Dairy America product really catching up strongly and gaining $230 when the average was less than 100. So that's got to be pleasing for American skim producers. Whereas the Europeans and New Zealand prices went. So there's a lot of tightness there in that.
Or coming to get converging of some of those prices. Yeah.
So that was interesting thing, and what it means back on farm.
Yes, importantly for Kiwi farmers.
Just gets better and better. So we've seen this week some revised milk price forecasts from several analysts in the New Zealand market, pushing the number up around 750 New Zealand dollars. GDT valued the event at, in terms of its product milk price implications, at about $7.70. Yep. So still pretty strong, and you can obviously see where that's going to
where that pressure's mounting for Fonterra's next announcement or update. Yeah. So turning first to US production, and as you said, this production data came out a little bit before the GDT event, and it was positive. Again, fewer cows. It's all about the yield that's driving these increases at the moment in the US.
Yeah, and regionally we can see where that growth's been happening. It's very western.
Yes.
Still, that's where there's more capacity, and there's certainly the conditions are probably more favourable in terms of feed yield. The cow numbers are trying to come back. They're creeping back up, but still down, but improving. I guess getting closer.
Yeah.
Do the economics.
Better deficits.
Yeah, it's like saying growth, but it's not as bad. The decline's not as bad as what it could have been.
That's right. So it'll be interesting with that yield factor, how that flows through when some of these corn crops come off and the feed quality is. Yeah,
and the quality seems pretty ordinary.
Yeah.
When frosts have arrived earlier and fields are frozen, and so that probably doesn't come through until January.
That's right. So one to watch.
Yep. Across the Dutch, I'm sorry to my New Zealand friends for that, but we can never avoid it.
We actually can.
We can. We try. Mixed conditions in New Zealand flowed through in these numbers in October. There was dip early in the month in grass growth, so quite a jagged growth indicator, and we've got more regional views of this stuff, and it is quite patchy.
Yeah, that's right. And obviously it is also against a record month in the previous season. So season to date, production's still 6% ahead. There's still plenty of milk across the ditch, really.
Yes.
But yeah, so perhaps that 1 month of negative growth wasn't enough to really panic buyers yet.
No. Yeah, and remember November's number was down. November dipped a bit last year. There was some problems, so it's going to be a funny result because we have seen some problems in this month.
That's right, yeah.
As well. Into Europe, where Growth was close to 1%, and the fine detail of that will depend how you treat the Italians, because there's interesting data that comes out of there. Fat supply is still strong.
Yeah.
Stronger than milk, obviously fat's there, and that also shows up on the next slide. But the other interesting bit, the Netherlands are back.
Yeah.
They're back to growth, year-on-year growth, and that is going to improve in the following month. We've seen that's up around 2% in October. These are September numbers that are on that chart. And also, if we look just how patchy that is in France and Germany, because the quarter was very weak in those two countries, but it's picked up since. And then Germany's retreated a little since that. So it's still very hard to call. It
is very hard, but the product mix data is interesting, and as you say, that top right chart really showing how there is more fat available in that manufacturing milk, and that's really pushing up cream and butter, even though skim is not following exactly those trends. So that's really probably behind that. But I'm just also really relieved you didn't do an Italian accent. So.
Yeah, I'm sure you're not the only one. We saw skim milk powder output fall in several producers, so there's always the risk that Eurostat data is corrupted
a bit dodgy,
here. But there was a heavy fall in German production and in Polish output. So, and I think in the UK, I think butter was strong in the UK. That could be about Brexit.
It could be, yeah.
So that may be distorting the numbers. Beware of that, but certainly butter supplies are still adequate and the market's still very cautious.
Yeah, which again is why we're seeing that softening. See what I've done there?
Yeah, that was good. Which brings us to your chart of the week, Jane.
Chart of the week, and this week I just thought we'd have a quick look at the CME prices for cheese. It's been a hell of a ride. But it looks like we're seeing a bit of a correction in that market and a bit more convergence with world prices.
Well, there's a bit more to come out of the barrel price yet.
Yeah.
And it still looks like the profile of one of the later stage Tour de France cycling events, right? You get that very steep mountain climb and then another one at the end. Yeah. And then down a steep slope. So that's it's an interesting pattern. Barrel's got to come back quite a bit yet. Yeah. It's about capacity, I think, and some acute short-term shortages, but that'll correct. And futures are down 3.9 to 4, so that's a tight little spread going forward.
Yep.
So yeah, it's coming back to the pack.
That's right.
As it is. Thanks for watching. We will be hopefully back next week. And in 2 weeks we'll be in New Zealand and we'll be sending you something from across the ditch. It's goodbye from us.